Welcome to Noble, a network of owners, business leaders, and entrepreneurs. Here, we focus on the 5 stages of business: launching an idea, establishing a business, hiring employees, creating leaders, and then expanding your impact. We hope you enjoy today's session.
Thank you very much, Corey. We truly appreciate the opportunity today to share this great topic. And I wouldn't normally call this a great topic, but it is, and because of its importance. And that's just because all businesses now need to complete this. And if they don't, there's some pretty serious fines and implications that go along with it. It's very simple. But unfortunately, I've talked to so many people that have no idea that this was required, as well as what needs to be done to do it. So we wanted to provide, just for Noble and anybody else, the opportunity to learn what needs to be done. And there's timelines, and the timelines vary depending on how long you've been in business. So what a great session, and we truly appreciate you all joining in and those that'll be watching the recording. I have not had the pleasure to spend much time with Barb, so I see that Mike Bowers is on. So I'll actually ask Mike to introduce our speaker today, because he knows a little bit more about her background and that type of thing. And Mike, just appreciate you being on today and our ongoing partnership with small business development centers, and especially here in Central Ohio. And we just thank you and your team for always being available for these kinds of topics.
Well, sure thing. Thanks a lot, Chaz. I want to thank Noble for their partnership. We've had some great opportunities to work on a variety of things, including the Noble Academy. And I know that we've been able to have an impact there. And I think it's been a really great partnership. We're looking forward to continuing that in the future. As Chaz said, my name's Mike Bowers. I am the director of the Ohio Small Business Development Center at Columbus State Community College. And I'm just basically here to kind of give a little bit of an overview of the SBDC, so you're all familiar with who we are. The Small Business Development Center is a grant-funded program. We receive funding from the Small Business Administration, CSBA. We receive funding from the state of Ohio. And in our case, we receive funding from the city of Columbus that allows us to provide advising services and training services to entrepreneurs at no charge to those small business owners. We provide, as we said, advising services, so that can be over really whatever it is you need to make your business more successful. And this particular topic is something that we were approached with early on in 24, trying to figure out how it worked. And there's been a few moving parts associated with this, but I will say that Barb Parknavy, who is on our team at the Small Business Development Center, is really immersed herself in this particular topic and has been doing a lot of things to work with individuals, both in terms of actually getting them the information they need so that they can file, but really just helping get the word out. Is she'll share probably some numbers about how few people really understand that this is needed and why it's important. So we're really happy to be able to share this with everybody. For those of you that are interested, if you want to work with Barb to do your filings or anything of that nature, you just need to really email sbdc@cscc.edu. That's our center email. Just reference the BOI filing and Barb's name, and we'll get you connected there. For anyone, and that's for the people inside the state of Ohio. If there's anyone here from outside of Ohio, you can go to Americas, that's plural, Americas SBDC.org. And in the toolbar, you'll see Find Your SBDC. So you'll be able to find your SBDC from amongst the close to 1,000 SBDCs across the country. So with that, I want to go ahead and bring Barb on, and we'll go through the different pieces and parts of the BOIR filing, why you do it, how you do it. And our request would be, if you have questions, go ahead and put those questions in the chat. And then when we finish, we'll kind of go back through those questions and see if we can get everybody answered. So Barb, you want to take it away?
All right. Thank you very much. And I'm so happy everybody that hadn't met me before pronounced my name correctly. I am Barb Parknavy. It's pronounced just like it sounds. And I am the program coordinator at the SBDC at Columbus State Community College. I started, for those of you that don't know me, I started with SBDC when I was a student attending Columbus State and Franklin University, where I earned degrees in entrepreneurship and business administration. And now I primarily work on project-oriented basis, which involves planning, outreach, processes, data analysis and tracking, and basically keeping track of all the moving parts and people of a project, which basically makes me a professional cat herder. So today I'm going to go over a topic that, as was mentioned before, in practice is actually a very small task, but it has a potential to have a huge impact on small business. And that is the new BOI, which stands for Beneficial Ownership Information Report requirement. So we're going to go over what this new requirement is, who it applies to, who has to file, how to file, and the consequences for not filing. So just want to make sure that everybody can see this, the full screen here. But just to go over, the BOI all comes from their reporting requirement is a product of the Corporate Transparency Act that was passed in 2021. It requires that many small businesses report basic information about who benefits from ownership or control of the company. That information is reported to the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, which you may be more familiar with, FinCEN.gov. The primary purpose of doing this filing is to assist the Treasury Department in preventing money laundering through the use of small businesses as shell companies as a way to hide from the Treasury Department. So it's an important part of helping the Treasury Department stop this and protect us as small businesses from bad actors. Now, even though it was passed in 2021, it actually didn't take effect until this past January of 2024. And that's when the companies that were required to report had to start reporting their information. And just as I refer to different things, I will often mention the FinCEN site. There is a lot of additional information on their website. And I'll point out where you can see it, there's a resource area, and there is a small business compliance guide, including FAQs on their sites. So you'll notice that on all of FinCEN's information, they refer to a term called reporting companies, which I found just that in and of itself, it's kind of confusing to people. So what do they mean by that? When the Treasury Department says reporting company, it just means any company that's required to file a BOI report. So the companies that are required to file a BOI are required to complete the form by the appropriate deadline, obviously provide accurate information on that report, provide basic company information, including uploading a digital file of your ID. And while this is a one-time only filing per se, if there are any material changes such as ownership information or location, those changes must be updated within 30 days of the change. So who does this apply to your business? Well, if you're a small business that created your company by filing documents with your state Secretary of State in either an LLC or corporation or a partnership, anything that created a company as a separate entity from yourself, this is going to more than likely apply to you. It's also going to apply to any foreign company that was formed somewhere else, but is allowed to operate in the US by filing similar documentation with the Secretary of State. Now, one exception of note is that there are some size restrictions on the LLC and corporations that if you're of a certain size, for example, if you have 20 or more employees and you generate over $5 million in revenue, you may be exempt. There are certain other pieces of criteria for that I would refer you to the Small Business Compliance Guide to ensure that. But who does not have to imply are entities that were not created using the Secretary of State of your state, such as a sole proprietor or certain trusts. And other exempt companies include like banks, credit unions, public utilities, very large companies that are public companies. And the primary reason why they don't have to fill this out is that all of that same information is provided in their legally required SEC filings. But just to note, any tax exempt companies, you have to be in possession of appropriate documentation from the IRS, like your 501c3s, in order to be considered exempt from this requirement. And dormant LLCs must file. So if you had an idea for a business a long time ago and you came up with this great name for it, so you went ahead and you filed for the LLC, but you never did anything with it, it's just been sitting there, you still have to file one for that, because anything that is listed as active at your state's Secretary of State will be required to complete this. Okay, so what is a beneficial owner? It's any individual who directly or indirectly owns or controls at least 25% of the ownership interest of a reporting company, or exercises substantial control over a reporting company. So the use of the terms ownership and substantial control are applied pretty broadly, and we'll go into substantial control on the next slide. But for ownership, it could be considered to be anyone that has equity, stocks, voting rights, capital or profit interest, or any other mechanisms that can be used to establish ownership interests. There are some exceptions to this, and that includes minor children, intermediaries, custodian or agent, employees, and inheritors or potential creditors. Now, the beneficial owner of the company, as I mentioned before, the beneficial owner is also considered to be anyone that has substantial control over the company. And that means somebody that meets any of 4 general criteria. First is if they are a senior officer. Second is if they have the authority to appoint anyone or remove anyone from as officers or majority of directors. Any important decision maker over the company. And I want to stress with this that that important decision maker would have to have decision making over the entire company to be considered substantial control. And then the ever generic, any other form of substantial control over the company. And one one question that often comes up under this is theoretically, for example, a manager of a restaurant could be required to be listed if they have substantial control over the entire company, not just the day-to-day operations, but if they control strategic or financial investments, or if they are the ones that decide on franchising opportunities and the actual owner is just a silent and just gives the restaurant owner run of the place, then that would be considered somebody that has substantial control. And so again, I would, if you have any questions on that, I would definitely refer to the small compliance or small entity compliance guide in the resource center. So there are penalties and fines for non-compliance. And as a professional cat herder, I wanted to try herd everyone away from that kind of consequences. There are civil penalties for anyone that willfully violates the ownership. That could be up to $591 per day. And that is inflation adjusted. Originally, when the act went into effect or was passed, that dollar amount was $500 a day. Now, by the time that it's in effect, a couple years later, it's been adjusted for inflation. So that daily fee has gone up by an extra $91. There could also be potential criminal penalties of up to 2 years and a fine of up to $10,000. And the types of crimes that you could be charged with include willfully failing to file a BOI report, willfully using false information, or willfully failing to correct or update a previously reported ownership information. It actually is the FBI that will do the investigations on these. But the FinCEN representative I talked to recently said they will have to prove 2 things to get to the extent of these criminal penalties. They'll have to prove that you knew about this, that it was required, and that you willfully chose not to do it. So the civil penalties are much more likely because they're a lot easier for them to prove. So let's go into how to file the BOI report. I highly recommend that in advance, you gather up your EIN number and you have a digital file of your ID in either a JPEG or a PDF form. Now they've recently added a couple other file formats that they will accept, like from most phone pictures, the files that they will accept now, and they have been continually making improvements on the site to make it run smoother. So it's been a lot better than it was originally, because it used to be chug along, and now it runs a lot smoother, and they accept different forms. And you can go to file this online by going directly to either BOI efiling.fincen.gov, or go just to fincen.gov to that site and scroll down to the BOI icon and click on that. When you get to the site and to the BOI section, the middle block here is the reference materials that I was talking about, and you can access different the compliance guide, FAIQs, media, even some sample social media posts if you want to help spread the word on your own site. There's some pre-made things for you on that, so I invite you to explore that. But if you're just going there to take care of your filing, you're going to go to the light colored box there and just click on File a Report using BOI e-filing system. Next, you will see this page. Welcome to the BOI e-filing system. And you're going to click on, look for the little globe there, click on Get Started. And you'll then choose the second section that says Prepare and Submit the BOIR. As soon as you click that, you're going to get a warning box that's going to tell you that you are entering a U.S. government information system that can only be used for its intended purposes. And so you'll click on agree for that. Now you are actually at the form. So when you first go to the form, notice that at the top, there are these little tabs, and that will help you navigate and let you know where you are throughout this process. And the first thing you are going to do is click on your initial report. If you have to come back and change or update it at a later time, you'll see there's other options on here. The date section will actually pre-fill out for you. And then you just click on the next button there. That is going to put you, if you'll notice, that automatically moves you to the reporting company. And as I mentioned before, the reporting company is it's just somebody that's required to fill out this form. So if you're a company that's required to fill on form, that means you. You can skip section 3 and 4 here, requesting a FinCEN ID. Or assuming that you are based in the United States, you will not be a foreign pooled investment vehicle. So you can just skip that section. And you will start answering here at number 5. So you're going to put the legal name as you fill it out on your Secretary of State paperwork. If you use any DBAs, you would fill that out on number 6. If you go by more than one DBA, you click on the add alternate name and it'll give you more spaces to do that. Number 7, you're going to select the ID type, and that this is where you would normally choose EIN number, and then you could put the actual number in number 8. Number 9, you're probably going to skip because it asks you for the country, but that's the section where you only fill out the country if you're using a foreign ID. So you would skip and do the country choice down here on number 10. Number 11 is the address of the company. So if you have a physical location for your company that's different from your residential address, you put it in here. Your city, the country, state, and zip code. And I'm going to note here, when you go to these drop-down menus, if you start filling it out, it will usually pop up for you, but go ahead and click on that, because sometimes the clicks don't always stay clicked. So you have to be careful and make sure it filled out correctly. And then you are, after you finish the zip code, you're just going to click next. So now that will move you to the company applicant. Now, the company applicant information is actually for those third parties that would complete filings on your behalf, such as a CPA or an attorney. And those are the people that would more than likely actually request a FinCEN number, because if they have a FinCEN number, then it would just fill all this information out. But since you're doing this for yourself, if you started your company before January 1st, in number 16, you're just going to click on that. And as soon as you do, it's going to give you a pop-up box that's going to tell you that the rest of this section of the form is going to gray out, so you won't be able to fill it out. So it's confirming that you are stating that your company was in existence before January 1st of 2024. Now, if you started your company this past year, you would not click on it and you'd fill out all of the information, which is just actually the same information as you will see as the beneficial owner asks. So again, it's number 18, FinCEN ID. You can skip that because you're not requesting one. But if you were a CPA doing it for multiple people, then you would apply for the FinCEN, put it here, and it would save you some extra typing on that. So now you are at your beneficial owners. And number 35, 36, and 37, unless they actually apply to you, that you, if you're filling out for a minor child, or you were an exempt entity, you basically just skip all of those. And you start filling out 38 to 47. So this is the beneficial owner. So the beneficial owner is the person, again, that has the ownership of the company of at least 25% that benefits from the company existing. In most cases, that would be the small business owner. And you're going to give your last name, first name, middle name if you have one, suffix. So if you're a senior or a junior or the third, you'd put that there. And your date of birth, which you do put the slashes in. And then the address on here is for your residence address. So you fill the address, city, country, state, and zip. So any place that there are these little tiny little red asterisks, that's what you want to make sure you're filling out. They're really kind of hard to see. So once you get that section done, next is your going to prove your identity. And you're going to select your identity type from the drop down, which will be a state issued driver's license. You put the actual number of your driver's license in 49. And then it's identifying like what jurisdiction. The country is US. If you're in Ohio or wherever you are, you click your state. You can essentially skip the local tribal information unless you're actually on federal tribal grounds. And then you are going to take that digital file of your ID and either drag it right into this box or click on the choose from file and select it from your file explorer. And by the way, you only need the front of your ID. And you'll know that it is completed when this text right here turns into the actual name of your file. So you'll know that that's complete. Now, if there is more than one owner or you have other people that have substantial control, you need to scroll back a little further in that beneficial owner thing to the very beginning of it where it says Part 3 beneficial owner information and click on add beneficial owner, and it'll give you all of that information all over again to fill out a second person, a third person, fourth person, however many that you need. So when you are done with all of your beneficial owners, you click on next, and then you're going to see a block of text in yellow, and it always appears like right at eye level from what I've seen. That's actually the middle of the page, so you have to remember to scroll up from this, and so that you can fill in your email, confirm your email, your first name and your last name, and then you're going to certify that this BOIR on behalf of your company is correct, correct, complete, and true according to your latest and best estimation. So you're going to click on that, and when you click on that, it's going to give you a pop-up. If you missed filling anything out, it's going to list anything that you filled out, or you had a bad entry somewhere, it's going to list that. And it's going to list it under the tab that information is missing. Sorry. So in this case, I didn't fill anything out on the thing I was grabbing the screens from, so everything is listed on here. But you can just go to the tabs where it says you're missing information and make those corrections. When you've done that, you're going to click next again. And right under where you marked agree, And under that yellow block of information is the I am human quiz. And as soon as you click on that, it is going to give you a little quiz. And there have been some weird and pretty weird quizzes on here. I've seen the strangest ones ever, but usually you're going to have about two sets. So it'll ask you to pick which animal matches this or which doesn't have a pair or what doesn't belong. And then you hit verify and it'll pop up the screen again. So you normally have to go through two sets of this until it considers you to be human. So once you've verified that, this little box that's underneath it that says submit BOIR will turn from gray to blue. And when you click that, you will see this little box pop up. And that will tell you that the message, that the submission is processing. When it is done processing, you will get a full confirmation. Another blue box that says download transcripts, although I've noticed it tends to show up more on the top than on the bottom here. But be sure that you click on that button to download your transcript because it is the most complete copy of all of the information, and you may need to refer to it in the future if you ever have to make any updates or changes. You will also receive an email confirmation. In the beginning, when I started helping people with doing these, we only actually found an email about 50% of the time. And now it's closer to about 90% of the time people are getting email confirmations, but they more than likely show up in your spam folder. So you have to check your spam folder, which, by the way, if you use Gmail, for example, there's tabs on your inbox that might be like your personal, professional, or promotional. Your spam is actually on the left-hand side on the list of folders. So you have to scroll down there to actually find your spam folder and check to see if it may have shown up in there. But once you have that and you have that transcript recorded with your other business records, then that's it. And it will probably take you less time to actually complete this than it took me to go through it with you. So just to summarize, the BOI filing is required by the Corporate Transparency Act. The primary purpose is to prevent money laundering. And deadline for any company that started before this past January is January 1st, 2025. In the future, any company that started during this year of 2024, you only had 90 days to complete it. So if you did start this year, you may already be late. So you want to get on that right away. And starting in 2025, new businesses will only have 30 days to do this filing. And as I mentioned before, the failure to file after January 1st, 2025, there could be as much as $591 per day in fines for non-compliance. And that's just the civil fines for it. Hey, does anyone have any questions?
Mike and Barb, thank you very, very much for joining us today. And that was probably one of the most concise and clear presentations I think we've ever had on something that's federal government related, right? So so thank you for presenting that so well, and for making sure folks understand what's needed and what the implications are. So I'll jump off now in case anybody has any questions, but just wanted to thank you for how well you presented that.
And before we get to the questions, I just want to shoot up our contact information for anyone that wants it. And to make one final note, please do not wait until the last minute to file. According to the FinCEN representative I talked to, they anticipate 30 million businesses should be filing this form. They have received 8 million. So they are now coming in at the rate of 1 million per week, and there's not 22 weeks left in the year. So it's going to get faster and faster and faster. More people are going to be hitting that website. And if you wait until the very last minute, there's a really good chance you might not make it in time because it will crash. And I would say from this point on, you should expect that CAPTCHA, that I am human quiz, to sit there and spin for a while. I also suggest trying it from between 8:30 and 10:30 in the morning, or between 2 and 3. I've not had any problems getting through at those times, but other times during the day, the website can be very, very slow. So sorry about that. I just wanted to mention that.
I have a question.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Barb, for the presentation. It was amazing. I am a sole proprietor right now, but I am going to be filing as an LLC for next year. My question is, though, when you were filling out the address for the company, you said you would put in the address other than residential, but if my LLC will be my home address, what would I fill in for that address there?
You put in, if you're conducting your company out of your home, then you would fill it out for the reporting company information and as beneficial owner.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Barb, there's a question in the chat asking if this is something that has to be filed every year, or how's that work?
No, this is one and done unless there's a change. So you only have to file this one time, but if you make a material change, like your address changes or something in the ownership changes, or you bring on another partner, then you have to update the existing one, which is why you want to save that transcript, because it'll have the filing number in case it's difficult to pull your original up. Also, I have noticed that because I began emailing people back in August about this to, let them know that time was running out. And when I started calling them in November, some of them remembered seeing the email, but couldn't remember for sure if they had actually done it right then and there, or just had set it aside. And I can tell you that currently the only way to know for sure to check that, to see if you filed, is you have to go back, fill out the whole form all over again, and hit submit. And if you've already submitted it, it won't let you. So they are working on a fix for that right now, but that is currently the only way to check to see if you've done it, if you don't recall whether you have done it or not. I would be aware of, there are, at least I've heard of incidents where people have offered to do filings, like payroll companies offer to do filings on behalf of companies, and they have been misinformed on how often you have to do this. And I can only presume that's because they are charging a fee each time. I've heard people say you have to do it monthly or quarterly. No, you only have to do it one time unless something changes.
I would say that one of the challenges, there's another point here that in the chat, one of the individuals said their tax preparer wasn't aware of some of these types of things. And the unfortunate thing is that Department of Treasury has decided to primarily get the word out to some degree through organizations like us and different things like that. So you're not going to see mass communications from Secretary of State's offices and stuff like that. And that's been challenging in terms of getting the word out as it relates to this. So
I know they also tried to contact FinCEN themselves, tried to do press releases to media outlets, and none of them would pick up on the story. So now I've been going through different podcasts and buying super chats and saying, if you're a small business owner, you need, because that's worth $5 right there. If you find some podcasts that are business related or something that are favorites of yours, that would be a nice favor to do, is to make sure that they, you know, if you're allowed to do chats or they read chats on the air, to let other people know. Because the way I think about it is, I know a lot of people, myself included, that the only time I really talk to my accountant or attorney is once a year when I go to do my taxes, because I just have a little side hustle. And if I started getting fined in January, but I didn't talk to my CPA until April when I went to do my taxes, I would have accumulated $50,000 worth of fines by then. So that's why it's very near and dear to my heart. I don't want anyone to have to pay for anything they don't have to.
There's a question in here, and you may have covered this, Barb. It does have a confirmation email when you're done?
Yes, it does give confirmation. Like I said, in the beginning, it was a little bit iffy about getting that out, but now it's successfully sending that confirmation email. But I would download the transcript anyway, because the email confirmation does not have as complete information as the transcript does.
And as far as future actions by the government, obviously we can't make that prediction. So we're just going based on what is currently the law and what the expectation is going forward, so that we can get this out to as many people as possible so that they're aware and can go through the filing. And like Barb said, I mean, it's not horribly difficult to do the filing, especially when you have guidance like, you know, she's put out or some other folks put out. But you know, you just got to be aware of it and putting it out there. And again, I don't think that the Department of Treasury is using this as a fundraising for their department, but I think that they are, you know, certainly they are trying to dissuade money laundering and different things of that nature. And, you know, this isn't exactly the same thing, but what was interesting is that we ran the Columbus and Franklin County Recovery Fund a couple of years ago, and Barb was instrumental in overseeing that. And as we got into kind of the second or third round of the grant applications, we found an inordinate amount of fraud and people trying to come in with fraudulent IDs and different things like that. Barb caught them, so don't mess with Barb. But you know, it's just out there, and it's you know, they're doing what they can do to try to stop some of this. And as I guess as technology and gets more advanced, you know, they're needing to have more information to try to figure out who's who. So,
and it's not actually, and they're not actually picking on small businesses. They actually have some statistical data that shows that, like, your average fentanyl dealer that's trying to launder money is doing it in a very small setting of under $5 million worth of revenue, and with only 2 or 3 people in the company. And so the setup of the company looks very similar to how most small businesses and most entrepreneurs start off, especially people that work out of their homes. You know, usually it's just you and maybe one other person, and it's for, you know, lower revenue type. Well, that is statistically how they're hiding. So the bad guys are kind of hiding amongst the good guys. And so they're, I think, more than anything, hoping that this will be a process of elimination, because there's a lot of small business. 30 million businesses are a lot of small businesses. And I think that their actual hope is that the word will get out to the good guys, they'll get theirs done, and then they only have to worry about who's left and who didn't file. So getting the message out is very important.